Good morning. I am Frank Lavinia, and I am introducing a segment that this is only the second one of, so still working on the idea, the concept, and the formats. But you can find out more about what I do at franksworld.com, datadriven.tv, and the latest project I've got going on, impactquantum.com, podcast for engineers who are curious about quantum computing. I'm your host, Frank Lavinia, and let's roll the fancy, cool graphics. All right, so welcome to the second edition of High Impact Tuesdays. And here's kind of the philosophy behind High Impact Tuesdays. Is I think that the real differentiators in the world are, people always, well, most people tend not to look forward to Mondays, right? Although this Monday is rather unique because it is effectively Monday, a virtual Monday, if you will, because in the U.S. yesterday was a public holiday. But the idea I had was, kind of sometimes people don't look forward to Mondays, and that's unfortunate. So I was thinking the day where you can have the most impact on the quality of your week is actually Tuesday. And here's why. To quote Mike Tyson, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Well, in this case, sometimes Mondays punch people in the face, if you will. So my idea was it's not so much, what happens on a Monday, but the idea is that, this is the day you get to shine and kind of have the most impact for the rest of your week. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I want to go over some of the things. I had too much Dr. Pepper. Anyway, I want to go over a couple of things I think are going to have the most impact on things going forward into the future. So, as I mentioned, I have a blog, franksworld.com, blog quite a bit. And here's a couple of things that help you increase your impact in the coming days. First off, obviously, cloud, kind of a big deal. Scott Hanselman kind of goes over with a gentleman named Brian Blanchard, where they talk about cloud governance. And what I like about this video, and this is what makes it impactful, is it explains what cloud governance is. Oops, I'm not showing it. All right, I still have to get used to the new interface. Let's see. Do I pop myself in the bottom? Nope. There we go. See, I learned something today, right? There's the impact right there. All right, so what year is... Scott Hanselman has a great video where not only does he kind of talk about what governance is, why it's important, and why it may be the blocker for your organization to adopting the cloud. I think this is critically important because governance, it sounds like a big, scary word. It's actually not. I highly recommend this video because it kind of goes through what is cloud governance and how the cloud adoption framework can really help you with that. And it's a short video, too. It's only about 12, 15 minutes. Next thing on the impact agenda, I'm taking a step back and thinking a little longer term, is this year, artificial chloroplasts. And how to be the future of our energy production. So if you're not up on the chemistry of, or you forget kind of high school biology, basically, leaves in plants are essentially little solar panels. And what they do is they take the sun's energy and effectively harness that to do a chemical reaction that converts carbon dioxide and water into glucose and various forms of starch and fiber. That's kind of my $1 explanation of it. There's a lot of fancy words, Latin terms, chemistry, chemical names. But what's interesting is that scientists are actually working on ways to create artificial chloroplasts. Now, the upside of this is, well, one, you could produce energy with it. You can make more efficient solar panels and possibly be the future of energy production. So the idea of digging a well to get oil could be the thing of the past because we have abundant solar power. I mean, clearly look around you in any green field. Chlorophyll is actually chlorophyll is the chemical that's in chloroplasts. Chlorophyll is what makes plants look green, or green leaves look green. So Fun fact of the day. Another thing on a more medium term, let's see, is maybe that's how I'll structure the show. I'll kind of do like immediate impact, medium impact, and then kind of long distance impact. Or maybe I'll mix it up. So if you've listened to any of my podcasts, whether that's data driven or whether that's Impact Quantum, you'll notice that the voiceover is customized for each episode. And you're probably wondering, hey, how do I do that? Well, how I do that is actually using artificial intelligence. So that actually started at the 3-year anniversary for Data Driven. And Data Driven, we hired a voice actor who did the voiceover about 3 years ago now. And great work. Can't recommend her enough. She's Shifty Pop on Fiverr. Really good. Great stuff. However, there was a cost to engaging her, and she's reasonably priced as voiceover artists go. But I couldn't really, practically in terms of time and in terms of money, I couldn't create a custom intro for every show. So recently I got my hands on some AI technology that uses basically neural networks to create a more realistic sounding voice. If you've ever tried to listen to whether it's any of the popular voice assistants, whether it's Alexa, Google Assistant, or Cortana, or any kind of speech synthesis, you'll notice that they sound very robotic. And so it's really hard to listen to that for an extended period of time. Researchers are aware of this too. In fact, a lot of work has gone into creating different companies call it different things, WaveNet, Deep Voice. I mean, that whatever the fancy name is, they use neural networks to figure out how my pitch and intonation changes as I talk and how everybody does, right? That's what we're used to as humans, because speech is kind of a fundamentally human thing. And so they basically worked on that. So it doesn't sound perfect. You can kind of, a lot of the feedback I got was, hey, is that a new person, or is that an AI? So you really, if you listen for it, she sounds like an AI. The voice sounds like an AI. If you're not listening for it, you may not pick up right away. And I've been doing some experiments having the voice program read longer segments of text. It does sound over a longer segment of text, more than like 3 paragraphs. Definitely, it sounds robotic, but it takes a lot longer. So for kind of the intro verbiage and stuff we want to get out, and the outro verbiage we want to get out, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, it definitely is hard to tell unless you're listening for it that it's an AI. So in this particular data point, which is a miniature episode of Data Driven, I discussed, hey, did we really replace a human? Because that kind of came up in a recent discussion. You just put a human out of work. And I suppose, yes, technically we did, but I did some math, back at a napkin math, and in order to produce a custom, for a minimum engagement for the voiceover actress is $30. Data Driven currently has 257 episodes. Impact Quantum has 3 at this, as I say this. So right now, that would put the production cost of Impact Quantum at $90, right, minimum, and about $7,000 for the other show. If I wanted to have a custom intro every time. So that makes you wonder, that would just be cost prohibitive to do that. So we wouldn't do it. So this is an example, and I'm sure there's a fancy economic term. Hi, Michael. How's it going? Let's see. Your AI uses a custom voice. Ooh, do tell. So the short of it is ultimately, while strictly speaking, we did. Okay, cool. All right, I will definitely be looking at that. It does voice on the fly. Ooh, interesting. All right, well, I know what I'm doing at lunchtime, my lunch break. I may reach out to you if that's okay. But ultimately, what we've done here is we've added extra value, right? So if you think about it, as a consumers of your content, or if you look at them as consumers and customers, we add extra value. I think by having that kind of the introductory phrase explaining what the show is about, I think adds significant value. And if you listen to a lot of the more professionally done podcasts or the bigger podcasts, they'll include a snippet of the conversation that particularly pithy part of the conversation that comes up. So the key, at least in my mind, to do that with data driven would require kind of a alteration to our editing flow, which for reasons small and large, we've experimented with, but it does add a significant amount of time to our production process. The New York Times, Wondery, NPR, they have resources. But by being able to kind of summarize in a small block of text what the show is about with an AI, that is a lot easier for us to produce, believe it or not. So for us at Data Driven, I speak for Andy, I believe. But time is really the value here, right? Time to production. So if you look, in 3 years or so, we've been putting out, 257 episodes. In a couple of weeks, we've put out 3 episodes of Impact Quantum. Keep in mind, Impact Quantum was just kind of a IM conversation at the end of July, and here it is, we're 3 shows in. So we're really taking that kind of that what Grant Cardone says is the speed is the new big to kind of the next level. So that's kind of our philosophy there. So it's actually a lot faster for me to do that than kind of find a nice pithy part to do that. So we've seen our numbers go up accordingly. So I think it seems to be landing well. At Data Driven, of course, we are very data driven in terms of our content we create. So ultimately, I don't think we really replaced a human. I think, will I still engage a voiceover artist? Yeah, but I only ever intended 3-4 years ago to engage her maybe 3-4 times over the course of 3-4 years, So, I don't think she's doing really well with some of her other stuff, but I really wonder what the future of voiceover technology is. And let's see what else is creating a high impact here. Last week, I did a show called on the podcast Impact Quantum, and a live stream actually about how qubits work. And I highly recommend you check that out. Yes, and of course the Insane Clown Posse reference. And you can actually, if you click on this, you actually hear the robotic voice kind of as a custom intro. I am toying with making that robotic voice kind of more of a character on the show, if you will, giving the voice kind of a personality and stuff like that. Still experimenting with it. I have some graphics concept ideas. Let me know what you think, if you think it's a good idea or not. And here's a great channel you all should be listening to or watching. It's called Deep Learning. It's a YouTube channel, and it's basically they cover deep learning. And this is great because she goes through a tutorial. I think her name is Mandy. She goes through a tutorial on MobileNet, why it's important or what makes it impactful. So I highly recommend that. And finally, on the impact for your High Impact Tuesday, 2 more items here. This book here, and if you go to franksworld.com, all these links are live right now. Basically, all the math you need for machine learning for free resource, free book, how to do it. And then finally, Seth Juarez, who works at Microsoft, has someone from the Azure Machine Learning Service product team explaining how to use open source software, open source frameworks on the Azure Machine Learning Service, which is critically important because part of the philosophy behind the Azure Machine Learning Service is to be kind of platform and framework neutral. And the reason for that is because what the hot framework is changes so fast. TensorFlow has obviously been a big deal for a while. PyTorch is now a big deal, but at one point it seemed like it wasn't going to be a big deal. Not that long ago, MXNet was also very hot. Now you don't hear much about it. So you have to, if you're writing a machine learning service you want to be successful, you have to make it less about the specific frameworks and more about the workflow, more about provisioning compute, that sort of thing. And that's why you'll see the Azure Machine Learning Service add significant value there and can have increased impact for your AI projects. All right, so let's see, how do I switch this back? Awesome. Whoops. Oh, I see. Hey, I'm still learning this. So I'm using, so in case you're wondering, a little bit behind the scenes here, I am using a service called Restream, and they have a built-in web client that lets you stream very quickly, very easily. I mean, setting this up, once you get it going, I mean, it takes 2 minutes. So I do have OBS. I do have kind of a fancier multi-camera setup, but I find myself, particularly if I haven't had enough caffeine for the morning, it's a bit of a challenge to kind of get everything up and running and working. The great thing about this is I have zero excuses for not doing a live stream, like zero. Like it's literally, click, and I'm online. I'm live. I think I can go live up to the 30 sources at once, but today I'm only on like 5 or 6, like only 5 or 6. Wasn't too long ago. I was working setting up live streaming events for our government affairs team, and required significant equipment and configuration and setup. Now, I mean, I can go live, and I often do, right here from my phone, and the feedback I got was, hey, the camera's a little shaky, so I have to get one of those fancy. It's like a selfie stick that's gyro stabilized. So with that, I want to thank you for watching live, and I want to thank you to Michael Johnson for your real-time feedback and your information on your. Definitely be taking a closer look at your AI voice technology. And one last thing, you'll notice that the website was a bit slow on franksworld.com. franksworld.com is a victim of its own success. I am actually maxing out my hosting plan. So if you're interested in a sponsor or for the website, for any of the podcasts, let me know. Reach out to me here on LinkedIn or frank.lavinia@gmail.com. There's also another email link at the top of franksworld.com. You can check that out. Because I'm getting about 250,000 page views per month now, and my hosting provider with my current plan, which I'm okay paying for myself, is kind of like I'm maxing out the CPU every month now. It started a few months ago because I've seen a real uptick in traffic, which is awesome. I'm happy. Thanks for everyone who comes to the site and stuff. But it is starting to get to the point where I'm going to have to think about finding sponsors and stuff like that. So it helps me create a better impact. And so since I do love my fancy graphics, I'll play it one more time. All right, so have a great day, and make sure you increase.